Welcome, everybody. It's the top of the hour. This is the Culture Mastery webinar on IceQ. And let me turn my camera on and focus it in a way that you can actually see me. My name is Christian Höferle. I am the founder and owner of the Culture Mastery. And today's webinar is about the power skill set that I call IceQ. We'll talk about what it is, why you need it, probably, and what happens if you don't. So we already have a few of you saying hello to each other. Please, please, please use the chat box, be social with each other. We're living in a time of social contact restrictions, whether self-imposed or authority imposed, doesn't matter. We have learned to be with each other in a different way. So let's not be strangers. Use the chat box to say hello to each other. Caroline joining us from Firenze, Italy. We have Lucrezia, who's in Atlanta. I am in Atlanta myself, so welcome to the South. We have Jim joining us from Chicago. Agata also from Chicago. Grazia from Montpellier. How do you say this now at 5 p.m. in France? It's probably bonsoir, bon après-midi. My French is not that good. Theodora from the Netherlands. We have Lainey from the West Coast, San Jose. We have Tanya from Detroit. Sir Fitzgerald from Berkshire, England. We have another Atlantean here, ATLian, Nina. We have Esther from Speyer in, I would say that is Baden-Württemberg, is it? I think it is, or is it Rheinland-Pfalz? In Germany, anyway. We have Cristian Torres from Bogota in Colombia. We have Carmen de los Rios from Spain. Carmen, tell us where in Spain you are, please. Mr. Hedblum from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Excellent. Welcome, everybody. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter in the world, no matter where you are in the world, let everybody know where you are. Oh, Carmen, gracias. She is joining us from Madrid. Excellent. So be social with each other, connect with each other, chat with each other as much as you can. If you have questions, please put them either in the chat box or in the question answer tab. Diana from Houston, excellent, excellent. Shout out to Texas. Excellent. Be social with each other, connect with each other beyond this session. And if you want to share emails with each other or phone numbers or, I don't know, Instagram handles. So today we're here to talk about the power of IceQ. I call it the power skill package for successful global business. So we're going to dive into that topic with a little bit more depth. But before we do that, let me introduce myself properly. Some of you already know me. Many of the names here on the list I recognize as people that I've interacted with before. Some of them I would even call friends. And some of you are new to this circle. So either way, I am happy and excited to see you all here and to have you join me on this topic. My name is Christian Höferle. That is a German name. So I am German by birth. However, I live in Atlanta in the United States, the southeastern part of the United States. So I am American by choice. And I'm also a cultural commuter. I have been commuting between cultures and across cultures all of my adult life. Business clients and friends alike call me the culture guy. That is not a name I gave myself. That is a moniker that was bestowed upon me by people who know my work and have seen me in action. So I wear it with pride. Some would even say that what Anthony Bourdain is to the world of food, I am to the world of business. I'm not sure if those shoes are not a little bit too big for me, but I will wear it. I've been in global business through my entire professional career. And for more than a dozen years, I've worked in the international entertainment industry as a business journalist. And since 2008, I have been working as a consultant for global businesses throughout the world with my company, The Culture Mastery. And for more than a decade, clients from all over the world have been coming to us to learn about the power skills that make a global business a success. So what is this thing? what are we talking about? You want to avoid shipwreck. You want to keep your balance as you ride the waves of global business. You want to surf smoothly. You want to stay on that board with balance when you do business outside of your own culture. But here's a key distinction for you. It is not your company that is going global. It's your people. It's you. As you expand your business activities internationally, the people on your team need to become global ready. Every company that has ever done business globally has been faced with cross-cultural challenges. So whether you're expanding into new markets, acquiring business assets abroad, or if you're continuing your international operations with a steady influx of new talent, you will need to bridge the culture gap. The culture gap, yes, there is going to be a gap. And bridging that culture gap is a requirement. It is not optional. Cultural differences aren't simply happening. They are not a possibility in global business. They're an inevitable certainty. And if you don't get culture, as you see here, culture will get you. Now, here's a warning about a real business threat. If you and your team choose to ignore culture, it may not only let you capsize, it will derail. I mean, this is a metaphor that we're borrowing here from the nautical world or from the seafaring world. But the capsizing could be that you're losing business, that you're losing employees, that you're getting the short end of the stick in negotiations. So without this power skill set that I call ICE-Q, culture will get you. Failing to recognize and adjust to behavioral differences leads to a variety of business risks. Cultural differences within your team can cause miscommunication and inefficiencies. And cultural differences between your company and its clients and its vendors can jeopardize negotiations, existing relations, and as a result, your bottom line. So there are many cautionary tales of business failures or failed mergers to a lack of ICE-Q. We have stories like that of Daimler and Chrysler. We have the story of Microsoft and Nokia. So Daimler and Chrysler, Daimler of Germany, Chrysler of the US, Microsoft, the US-based West Coast company, Nokia from Finland. We have British Steel and Dutch Royal Hoogovens. That was not a success story. That was, in fact, quite a costly failure. And we're going to dive deeper into many of these, dare I say, nightmarish cautionary tales of business activities where a lack of ICE-Q led into costly disasters. During our upcoming training course, you'll hear more about this towards the end, how you can participate or share that within your team. So more on that later. But the fact that people ignore culture or do not recognize the importance of ICE-Q is because humans have a limited worldview. We see our world the way we want to see it, and that makes it easier to neglect the realities of global business. Some of you may have come across this quote frequently, and just because it's been used so much doesn't make it any less valid or wrong. We see the world the way we want to see it, and if we don't use ICE-Q to help us see the world a different way or through other facets and other angles, we may just run the risk of these or copying those mistakes that Daimler, Chrysler, Microsoft, Nokia, and others have been doing. Yes, Alan, costly divorces. Yes, that of Daimler and Chrysler was a costly divorce. If I'm not mistaken, Daimler and Chrysler, or Daimler purchased Chrysler in the mid-90s for, I believe, $37 billion US, or that was the value of the merger when they split up, when they went through their not necessarily amicable divorce. The corporate value of both companies was, I think, a whopping 7 billion. So they lost corporate value, shareholder value, to the dime of 30 billion. That's billion with a B, right? So that is not fun. So what is IceQ? IceQ is the power skill package you and your employees need to overcome the cultural threat to your business. And we also have some success stories where companies have been using IceQ. And I'm happy to share some success stories, not cautionary tales, but actually not fairy tales either, but really good, successful stories. And I've talked to my clients, so they're happy for me, happy with me sharing that. We worked with companies like an aircraft seating company out of Germany called Recaro, who have been building the seats that we fly in across the world, not only in Germany. They have been producing those in Poland and South Africa and China and in the United States. And they've gone through some cultural challenges that we help them resolve. And as a result, they've been saving money, they've been holding on to key talent, and they have been able to hold on to key clients, even during times like these past 2 years where air traffic has been hit hard by the pandemic. Another company worth mentioning is a US-based manufacturing conglomerate called Time Manufacturing, which recently acquired a German mechanical engineering machine making company called Rootmann. You may have seen those bucket trucks driving around your neighborhood, and there's a crane going up and there's people in that bucket that go up and down the power poles. That's a company that makes them out of Germany. They're called Rootmann. So in this case, the acquiree, the party that was being purchased, wanted to make sure to develop IceQ in order to be successful within their new global structure of time manufacturing, talking about proactive and being smart about this in terms of culture. And one of our biggest success stories, if I may add so, is another German company, a chemical organization, Wacker Chemical, who have been building and not only building, but now operating a polysilicon plant in the southeast of Tennessee. It was a greenfield project, started from zero, and it was potentially hampered by cultural obstacles because many other international businesses in that very area have been struggling very much with adjusting to the cultural nuances, the cultural specificities of that area. And Wacker was not willing to make those same mistakes. And we were able to help them succeed. And the company today is well established in that community, employs some 650 people making polysilicon. And if you don't know what that is the raw material that goes into your computer chips or your phones or your solar panels on the roof that make clean energy. So what is IceQ then? Let's finally define this here, right? So IceQ is a combination of IQ plus CQ plus EQ, as you see here on the bottom of the slide. IQ, or intelligence quotient, is what you know about the work you do, your subject matter expertise, your global experience, if you will. What you know is the scope of knowledge of which you are aware. What you don't know are the knowledge gaps of which you are aware, and the IQ danger zone. Those are the things you don't know and aren't even aware that you don't know them. This is a trap, especially in business interactions with people from other cultures. The damage will be already done once you realize you committed a cultural blunder because of a knowledge gap that was outside of your awareness. So IQ. Now, going back to this slide, CQ, or cultural intelligence, that's your capability to relate and work effectively and consistently across cultures for your business success. It has 4 parts. Let's look at them. CQ drive, CQ knowledge, CQ strategy, and CQ action. CQ drive, that is your level of interest and confidence during multicultural interactions. Ask yourself how relevant it is for you to succeed in a global context. I want you to put that in the chat right now. On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not important at all, and 10, it is mission critical, how would you rate your importance to succeed on a global scale? How important is it to you to succeed on a global scale? 1, not important at all. 10, mission critical. Next, CQ knowledge. Be totally honest with yourself. Do you know enough? How thoroughly do you really understand the differences and similarities of the cultures you're doing business with? Nobody's asking you to be an expert. The answer to the knowledge question should indicate to you if you have information blind spots and where they are. Thanks. Well, most of you see that close to or even really mission critical. Excellent. Third step, CQ strategy. That's where we develop your plan. Are you aware that it will benefit you to strategize best practices for dealing with your foreign counterparts? Are you able to map out the how of your cross-cultural interactions? The how is just as important as the what. And finally, CQ action. Now that you have a plan, you'll want to implement it. The fourth phase of building CQ marks the transition from thinking to doing. How capable are you to execute on your cross-cultural strategy? Your results will not always be exceptional in the beginning. You will make mistakes. You will step on people's toes. I know I do. Be okay with that. Focus on recovering from small cultural mistakes that don't turn into expensive cultural blunders. Now let's look at EQ here. Well, let's go back to this slide here. EQ, or emotional intelligence, is your ability to perceive, use, understand, and manage your and your employees' emotions. This means you want to acquire the knowledge and skill set to identify people's personalities and emotional frameworks. The ability to recognize personality profiles and types can be learned and practiced, and I'll show you how we do this in our upcoming training. So IceQ isn't what some people call soft skills. You can tell that I'm not a fan of that term. IceQ is a set of power skills. Your ability to communicate, inspire, persuade, manage, and lead. So why does this matter? Why is this important? That's why I have this global growth formula up here. So global growth is based largely on this simple yet powerful formula. So you have a number of international business opportunities. That's the hashtag sign here. Those opportunities have a deal value on average. What can these global business opportunities generate in revenue or value for you and your organization? And there is also a detractor from that. That is your learning curve in global operations. How long is it? How steep is it? And your, let's call it failure rate. How much money are you losing? How much time are you wasting? Are you dropping important talent, staff left or right? Are you losing clients along the way? Whatever the failure rate might be. So you see an important factor in that equation on top here is IceQ. That is the combination of IQ, CQ, EQ. We symbolize it with 3 icons. IQ, that's the brain symbol in green. EQ, that's emotions, that's the red heart. And CQ, I use the blue globe symbol. So IceQ in a combination, that's not in singularity, in combination together, they are an important factor in your global growth. So what if you could increase your IceQ and simultaneously decrease your failure rate and flatten or shorten your learning curve? Well, I'm not really good at math, but I think I'm good enough to recognize if the number above that line is bigger than the number underneath that line, that's a good thing. That means your growth rate is high. right? So you want to decrease the number on the bottom and you want to increase the number on the top. And this is what we do with our clients. We help them increase their ISQ and we help them reduce the failure rate. We help them reduce or shorten and flatten the learning curve. So cultural intelligence is your stability anchor in global business. Here are the factors why culture matters. I mentioned it before. This is just a recap. You're contacting, you're introducing, you're building trust with people, you're resolving conflicts, you're going to networking digitally or in real life. You're communicating with people. You are inspiring, you're leading, you're relaying information, you're haggling, you're negotiating over prices and conditions and processes, and you're giving feedback or you're receiving feedback. All of these things are influenced by ISQ, and not having it would be detrimental. So how do we measure and build your cultural intelligence? So we use a couple of tools. Here you see one of the tools that we use. I'm only showcasing two here for brevity. We'll dive a lot deeper during our 3-hour training course. That'll give you a lot more meat on the bone around this, but this is a dimensional behavioral comparison tool that has been used in our industry. We're using behavioral prototypes around cultures, around nation cultures, but hang on, we're also going to do it a little bit more nuanced, more than nation cultures. So you see here an overlap of how people from certain countries are more expressive in their communication style, or if they withhold emotions during their interactions, and if it's okay for them to be confrontational, or if they prefer to avoid confrontation. And you see many different nation cultures plotted on this grid. And if your nationality, if your cultural background is represented in one quadrant and that of your target market or of your clients or your vendors in a different quadrant, that will signify and illustrate a cultural gap, right? So we work with the fundamentals of cross-cultural research based in, well, a lot of the foundational work that the giants in the industry have conducted ever since the 1950s. And this is one of the tools we use. There's another graphic that shows you how leadership can be structured across cultures, whether it is a more egalitarian or more hierarchical structure, or whether it's a little bit more top-down or consensual. Let me check in with a question here in the chat box. Silke is asking, may I ask what the source of this chat is, please? The source of this chat is our webinar, Silke. I hope this answers the questions. Maybe, oh, the chart. There we go. The chart, thank you for asking. The source of this chart is from a book called, let me pull it from the shelf. It is called The Culture Map by Erin Meyer. Erin Meyer is a researcher and teacher, instructor at INSEAD University in Paris, France. And her work is loosely based or is founded upon a tool that we extensively use in our work. It's called the GLOBESMART profile. Erin used to work for the company that established the GLOBESMART profile. So her work is based on this tool that we use extensively with our clients. And you see here 5 different nation cultures plotted against each other or next to each other along 5 behavioral dimensions. These are the 5 measurement units that the GLOBESMART profile looks at. And you see here, it compares independent versus interdependent, or you could say individualistic versus group-focused cultures, egalitarianism versus hierarchy, risk comfort levels with certainty preference, direct versus indirect communication, and task orientation versus relationship orientation. And you could easily detect where there are cultural gaps and where there are proximities, and you can, depending on the situation we're dealt with our clients, we can easily determine what to zero in on first and which issues and topics we want to prioritize. So that will be a whole part, basically half of the training program that you'll learn about towards the end of the session will focus around building, measuring, expanding your CQ, your cultural intelligence. Now, you cannot explain human behavior with culture alone. There's also personalities that play into this. You will hear us tell this to our clients in every training. We will say, just because the US has this green line here does not mean that every person in the United States will always behave this same way. There are always nuances of behavioral preferences within one culture. And those nuances within nation cultures are what I would refer to as EQ. That is your importance to recognize, how do people show up in the world? What is their personality profile? What is their personality archetypes, or what archetypes are they made of? So culture is not the same as personality. We use a tool called Codebreaker, or Bank, B-A-N-K. It does not have anything to do with a financial institution. B-A-N-K is an acronym, and the acronym describes the 4 personality archetype this Codebreaker methodology is looking at. You see B for blueprint. That's the personality prototype or archetype that values stability and predictability. And well, let me show you here. I got it on the slide, right? So I hope you can read this. You'll get a recording of this, and you can actually dive into this deeper. And of course, we're going to look at this in the second part of our 3-hour course that I'll talk to you about in a minute here. So you see the blueprint values, personality values, or stability, structure, planning, processes, also titles and credentials. So these are the people who make sure that the trains run on time and that the rules are enforced. You see A, that's the second letter in the acronym. Those are the action personality types. They value freedom and flexibility, being spontaneous. They want to have fun. They're seeking attention. They are competitive. They want excitement. So those are the people that typically drive the blueprints crazy, because they don't care whether the trains run on time as long as their train is from Gucci and Prada and is the fastest on the track. And then you have the N, the nurturing types. The nurturing personalities value community, they value harmony, they value traditions and involvement and a significance of work. They are the glue that keep everybody together. They're the peacemakers. They're the emotional bedrock of a well-functioning work environment. And then you have the K personality type, knowledge. Those are the people who value universal truths, basically, or big science, big picture thinking, scientific validation, not just gut reflex or knee-jerk decision making. They want to make sure that they have the expertise, or that who they're dealing with is an expert, that they value logical thinking and want to continuously improve. So these are your researchers, your engineering types. So 4 personality prototypes. And yes, I see in the chat box, yes, there are other personality profiles out there, and I'm not making any of them wrong. They all have their value and the validity. We prefer this one because it is easily administered, it is easily debriefed, and it has immediate application because it helps us deconstruct and decipher people's decision-making process. And in human behavior, especially across cultures, it is critically important that we recognize fast and quickly how people make decisions, what makes them do one thing and avoid another thing. So we have cultural intelligence and emotional intelligence coming together here. Now, there's another element that I didn't put on the slide that also plays into this. So you see 4 value archetypes here with B, A, and K. There's another 4 elements that we need to look at, and those are the 4 representational systems of human communication. Is somebody more visual? Is somebody more auditory? Are they more kinesthetic with touch? Or are they more thinking internally? Do they have self-chat going on? More on this in our extended course. So, but we have, and these terms come from neurolinguistic programming, a communications methodology. But in combination, you have B, A, and K, and you have visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and digital. Those are 4 and 4. We call them the V8 engine of human communication, of clean, efficient, nonviolent communication. And this also will become part of our training program. So let me check in with you real quick. That's a lot of information that I am pushing on you and sharing with you. I want to hear from you that you're all here. What is currently your global business challenge? What, if you were to name just one, what's the biggest obstacle, the biggest staircase you're staring up on and not sure which is the first step? So feel free to write that in the chat box and share with everyone. If you're not ready to share that with the big group here, feel free to send me a personal message. You can do this here as well and not do it publicly. You can send me an email later on. I'll share the email address that you can use for that. But I want you to think about it. What is your one biggest challenge in global business right now, or within your organization as it works on a global scale? I'm curious to hear about that. So expanding your team's ice cube is like a protective shield against your costly cross-cultural business mistakes. It doesn't turn itself on. It's up to you to install it, and you and your team to maintain and activate. So remember the examples of multi-billion-dollar business fails, which were mentioned earlier. Daimler Chrysler. Also, I forgot to mention Air France, KLM. That was a big one. So it is a minimal expense to build IceQ in contrast to the bottom line relevance of your global business. So I want to honor some of you who are sharing your challenges. Helene says, making people understand that cross-cultural skills is key if you want to work for a European company. I would certainly agree, Helene. Dunya says, traditional approach and standpoint, lack of flexibility. So people are not willing to go outside their box or draw outside the designated lines. That's, I think, what you mean by that. If not, feel free to specify. Andrea says, if a culture appears too easy at the first stage, be sure that it will be most challenging for business. I would agree. This is often the case, and this is a great point, Andreas. I notice this especially with cultures that think of themselves as closely related or having a lot in common. This is often the biggest trap. We call it the similarity illusion, where partners from different cultures think they know each other well until they find out that they don't. So what are the next steps? So next steps, I'm going to make this quick and dirty because I honor your time and I know you got other things to do, and I'm really, really grateful and honored that you're here today with me and you're joining me for this. So here's what we're going to do, or here's what you're going to do. So if you want to take this to the next step, we offer a 3-hour live online training. We call it Doing Business Abroad with the Confidence of Cultural Competence. It's where we help you build IceQ, and you can carry this into your organizations. This, however, is an open enrollment environment. If you choose to, we can take this corporate and close the door behind us. That is something that we can have a conversation about. But this is a course, we're calling it Doing Business Abroad with the Confidence of Cultural Competence. You see this link here, that bit.ly link. That is where you can go to register for this. And I'm going to share this link here in the chat box real quick, so it's clickable, because I understand that the slide cannot be clicked. So here we go. It's in the chat box now. So you can click on this now and register for this event. It is 3 hours in total, which means it's 2 times 90 minutes. So we're not going to keep you 3 hours glued to a screen. I know during pandemic times, we've all learned to get square-eyed, but I want to make it easier on you and divide it up into two elements. What's in this thing? What is part of this? So you'll get 2 times 90 minutes. Link is in the comments, as I said. First part is a focus on cultural intelligence. So we're going to talk about stuff like the culture map, or we're going to talk about stuff like global dexterity and many other books. We're going to talk about the GLOBESMART profile. We're going to talk about stuff like this, When Cultures Collide by Richard Lewis. So we're not going to read the whole book together, but we're going to work through these cultural intelligence cornerstones that are so important for global business. Session 2 will focus on EQ, emotional intelligence. So we're going to talk about personality profiling. We're going to talk about the V8 engine of human intelligence, of human communication. So that will consist, so you'll get, with that program, you'll get access to GLOBESMART. So you will have your cultural profile to use. You will have it for 6 months. It will be part of your toolbox, and you will be able to use the entire platform. You will also be getting your codebreaker, your BANK codebreaker personality profile, and you will learn how to read it, use it, debrief it, and use it with colleagues, clients, vendors. And you will get an introduction to neurolinguistic programming. So that was the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, digital part that I mentioned earlier, the other 4 cylinders of the V8 engine. So, excuse me, let me recap. So 2 times 90 minutes. Session 1, focus on CQ. Session 2, focus on emotional intelligence. You get the GLOBESMART profile, you get the codebreaker, you get an intro to NLP. So when is this? I should have put this on the slide, shouldn't I have? It says here on the slide, but it's really small print, so I'm going to put it in the chat box. This will be September 28 and 29. And again, here is the link where you register. Let me know if you're in. If you're in, if this is something you want to do, if this is something you want to commit to, or if this is something you would like to carry into your organizations, type it in the chat box now. Type in I'm in, or simply in is enough. You know how to use it. Again, here's the link. You see it on the slide. You have a choice, and the choice is simple. You can be successful when you're working outside your own culture, and you can insist on doing it your way. Perfectly fine choice for you. You also see that insisting on doing it your way, like someone said in the chat box earlier, being inflexible, I think it was Dunya who said that, being inflexible and not ready to try new stuff, that is where you see the shark fins pointing out of the water surface. This is where the water is red. You may have heard of blue ocean and red ocean. This is red ocean territory. This is where shark-infested waters have caused casualties. You can insist on keeping doing it that way, but also know you're going to have sharks to deal with. And those sharks are cross-cultural blunders that are costly and that will hurt your business. Your business will bleed money or bleed talent, or worse, both. You can also be successful working with IceQ outside your own culture. That would be in blue waters. So again, your choice. Our course, 3 hours, 2 times 90 minutes, will be September 28 and 29. That's a couple of weeks from now. Link is in the chat box and on the slide. If you want to discuss this in person, one-on-one with me, here is the best way to get in touch. You see the email and you see the phone number. Either way works fine. Please know, when you call me, we are in the Eastern time zone of the United States. So we can answer the phone during most business hours. We will always answer emails as they pop in, even after business hours. Viviane says, I'm in. Can you please send the link in the chat? Of course we can, Viviane. Or Viviane. Not sure how to pronounce your name. I will find out. Here is the link one more time. glad you're in. Let me know how else I can be of service. Let me know how we can support your global growth and how we can help you avoid costly cross-cultural blunders and mistakes in your global work and business journey. My name is Christian. This was the Culture Mastery webinar on IceQ. We got it down in 40 minutes and change. I am excited that you were with me today. You'll get a recording of this, and you will also get an email from me with, again, the link and the specifics of what we talked about here today. Let me know if you have any more questions. I can stay on until, well, 4 or 5 more minutes. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with right now or that you think should be covered for everyone on this call. And if there are no more questions, we're ready to tie a ribbon on this and call it a day. And for those of you in Europe or further to the east, I hope you have a wonderful evening and rest of your day. To those of you in the Americas and further over into the Pacific areas, I hope you have a very productive day today and make those global deals happen. Get your global business to the next level. We're ready here to support you whenever you want us to. Grateful for to be able to be of service to you. Looking forward to having more of these conversations with you in the future. Thank you, and bye-bye.